York, and she was in the union there, and an activist and a steward, and then she was elected to office in her union. So I kind of grew up in picket lines and the rallies and everything else. And
well, clearly they cared about you because they didn't want you ending up in that business as a labor leader. They tried to steer you in a better path.
No, well, I wanted to help the labor movement, and I thought, okay, the best way I can do that is to be a union lawyer. So I went to law school, and for 16 years, I was a Teamster lawyer representing all the different Teamster locals in the Joint Council and Joint Council 7. So,
but not just Teamsters, right?
Right. So it was mostly Teamsters. The firm is Bicentennial and Bodine, and it's historically is the Teamster firm, but we had other clients, which is actually how, because Q, which is the predecessor to Local 2010, was my client. And when they wanted to affiliate with the Teamsters, I helped them through that process as their lawyer.
Oh, got it.
But I tried to be like the organizing lawyer. Actually, one of the great compliments I got was from actually my sister, BJ Strother, who was a union rep at Local 2010. She was with the organization back before the merger, and she used to say, "Jason, you're the organizing lawyer," because I always used to try to tell, when you're the lawyer, you can only give advice and say, well, you could do this, you could do that.
Right.
I would always try to give advice about how, okay, this is a great case, and we could win this, or we're going to lose it, or whatever. But the real win is when you get the members to take action, because that's where the power is. Not the power is not because you got the smart lawyer. That helps, but that's not the power. The power is the members stand together and take action on whatever you're doing. So I would always try to advise people, well, you could take this action or that, and and so on. So I was doing that for 16 years. I did a lot of good cases for a lot of different Teamster locals. I remember we had that guy, I think he was hit by a car on the picket line, but then the company said it was his fault because he jumped out the car or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was he said, she said. Yeah, he was on a picket line, and there was an aggressive supervisor trying to get into work.
Yeah.
And I say he was hit by a car. I mean, we're talking about like 2 miles an hour, but
right. So it wasn't. We can joke about it a little because he wasn't like terribly.
Yeah, he wasn't maimed or anything.
But it was still a bad situation. But I think
he was a big guy too. He didn't move that fast.
Right, exactly. But he wasn't bigger than the car.
No.
But when they said that he attacked the car, that was when I found the footage of Chuck Norris jumping through the windshield.
That was the first interaction I ever had with you, and I didn't know anything about you other than you were an attorney at Beeson's firm. And I get this email from you, and the email said secret footage or something. And the funny thing was this was before like social media and everything, but there was still like several different cameras, and we were finding like new video all the time on it, and so. You send this email, new video footage with a link, and I click the link, and it's Chuck Norris killing some guy by jumping through a windshield.
Yeah, because that was the first thing I thought when they told me, oh, the company says he attacked the car. And then I remember when I was a kid and saw the commercial.
I'm gonna find that sound and edit it in. It'll be...
Yes. Yeah. Because it was awesome. It was one of the great scenes in any movie because the car's trying to run over Chuck Norris.
It's going to run him over.
And he jumps up and kicks through the windshield at the guy. So that stuck in my head. So when they said that our brother had attacked the car, that was the first thing I thought of. So I said, well, I'll just find that on YouTube and send it to Phil and tell him this was new footage from a different angle. And
that blew me away. I'm like, oh my God. Who is this guy? I love him.
This is a smart ass lawyer.
But so in the Bronx, so high school in the Bronx, elementary school in the Bronx, all that stuff?
No, I went to high school.
Or did I say Brooklyn or the Bronx?
I grew up in the Bronx.
It's the same thing, right?
I went to PS 81 for elementary school in New York.
In
New York, we don't
81.
have in PS Public School 81.
Oh, okay.
So in New York City, we don't name schools because that would be too much trouble, and there's too many of them, so they just all have numbers. So I went to PS 81.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
PS 81.
Yeah. And then for high school, I went to Hunter High School, which is in Manhattan. And it's one of these schools you got to take a test to get in. And the kids come from all over the city. And interesting place. But our claim to fame.
So, but I'm thinking, and I'm thinking like fire plug and playing in the street and stickball. That's every New York stereotype. I mean, is that
I definitely played stickball.
Really? What is stickball? It's baseball, but without a base.
Yeah, exactly.
Baseball?
Yeah, stickball is baseball, but you don't need a field or
you need a stick and a ball.
You need a broomstick and a tennis ball.
Oh, it's a broomstick and a tennis ball. Got it.
Okay, so I had those things and a schoolyard. And any schoolyard you went to, there would be a rectangle painted on the wall, which is your strike zone.
Oh.
And so what you do is if you have two guys, you could play with more, but if you have two guys, one's the pitcher and one's the hitter. And, there'll be a fence at the far end of the schoolyard. So you just agree, okay, well, if I hit it, if it goes past you, that's a single.
Okay.
If it gets to the wall, it's a double. If it hits the wall, it's on the fly, it's a triple. And if it goes over the wall, it's a home run. And we're going to remember where all the runners are.
Right.
And
we used to do that with wiffle ball, but stickball,
It's the same thing, but so we definitely played stickball.
So is it the Bronx or Brooklyn?
The Bronx, yeah.
Okay, the Bronx.
Yeah, very different, I guess.
I don't know. I never got outside California. Man.
Come to New York, man. Listen, California is the place to live, but New York is nice to go back and visit. But so I went to high school at this place, which our current claim to fame is Lin-Manuel Miranda, creator of Hamilton. Graduated from there. Before that, it was Young MC of Bust a Move.
Bust a Move,
yeah,
Young MC.
He was in my class. Great guy.
And was he Young MC then, or
he was Marvin?
Marvin
at the time. He was Marvin, and
was
he
did
DJ our dances.
I was going to say, was he DJing then?
He did DJ our dances. Cool guy. And we also had, I think the year behind me was Miranda from Sex and the City, Cynthia Nixon.
Oh, okay. She ran for mayor, right?
She did. She ran for mayor. She's a powerhouse. And actually, I should say Elena Kagan, Supreme Court Justice. I know how rappers gets.
Young MC's got more fame than Elena Kagan.
Yeah, that's how it is. But anyway, so that's where I went for high school. And I came to California for law school in '93 and never looked back.
It's California for law school. So where was that at?
UC Davis.
Oh, UC Davis. Got it.
King Hall.
Yeah,
named for Martin Luther King.
Well, so had your family always been in New York, or?
Yeah. Well, my
what's interesting is I didn't know which shouldn't be a surprise because people tend to pop up that way. But you're come from a family of social justice, right? Yeah. I mean, your mom was in a union, social worker.
Yes.
That's how these things get passed down,
Yes, that was imbued in us that, we're going to serve working people. We're going to be for justice, for equality. I mean, but
some people grow up getting taught how to screw working people, how to make money for yourself.
No, my earliest memories besides the picket lines were, like when Angela Davis was freed, we went to the rally for that. Or when the war ended, we went to the rally for that.
So you guys were in it.
I remember that. Yeah.
Especially in New York where not a large national event like that goes by unnoticed.
Oh, yeah. No, there was big movements in New York. And when I was in high school, we had the fight against apartheid in South Africa was important to me. I organized students to go. There were sit-ins at the South African consulate. So
right there in New York.
Right there in New York. So I was arrested with other student leaders protesting apartheid. I think I was 17. And there were civil rights leaders there.
What's amazing too is because if you're in, and nothing against, say somebody in San Antonio or something, I mean when you're in New York, right, and the South African consulate in New York, it's consequential. I mean that's their home base in the United States.
Right. Well, at that time there were daily sit-ins every day.
Meaning it really matters. Like if me and my friends in Cloverdale go schedule a sit-in at the Sonoma County Library, that's not going to have the same effect as basically the South African HQ in New York.
Right. Although I suppose if, because there's a lot of stuff happening in New York all the time. I suppose if you were to have that sit-in
maybe.
That might get more attention.
Man, people would lose their minds.
Yeah. Should have tried it.
Yeah. Well, honestly, unlike you, I cared more about like water skiing or, camping than social justice.
There wasn't a lot of water skiing on the East River at the time that I know of. Yeah. So no, that was kind of what I grew up in. And then in college we had,
because you're not some guy that just decided to get a job. I mean, especially in labor law, not the most lucrative law practices there are, right?
No, that's true. That's true.
So, it's not something people seek out other than to help people, right?
Yeah, right. Well, if you do labor law on management side.
Oh, yeah. You get rich, man.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But no, we have a lot of good, committed union lawyers that are doing it because it's the right thing.
Because it's, and I don't want to get into a lot of the Teamster politics right now, but that's a knock. Some people have knocked you for being an attorney, which is kind of ridiculous. But
well, I'll let people make their own decision about that.
But I mean, you just didn't fall into the labor movement. I mean, you grew up in it,
right?
But social justice didn't. Because we had a conversation last week, and social justice for you didn't begin there, really, because you were talking about how your family, because my family, I'm first generation American on my father's side, but that your family had migrated over kind of fleeing persecution, right?
Yeah, all my grandparents came to this country as immigrants when in the around 1920s, 1920, 21, and as they were all kids, and they all came from Eastern Europe and like Russia, Ukraine, Poland, and Belarus. So those were not good places to be Jewish at that time because depending on who was in your village, they would kill you for being Jewish,
right?
Or other bad things. So so they all came here, Lower East Side in Manhattan, and met here. And my grandma, my mother's mother, came here and she was a radical. Right. And so that's how, so the activism in my family kind of runs through the women, through my mom and her mom. And so I definitely grew up in that environment where it's like your duty is to use your skills and talents to make things better for people, for working people, and to fight for justice. And that's kind of sounds corny when I say that.
People forget things and people get complacent, and it's like, and what's funny is how when people immigrate, like when my family came over, it's a long story, but they came into San Francisco from Asia, and how there's a whole support community too that like picks them up, and because I was talking to my aunt about it, is you had to have a job before they would let you in and so everybody kind of cares for everybody,
right? And actually, in that box where I found my grandfather's union thing, I also found, amazingly, his father, who I never knew, my great-grandfather, Shmerl,
yeah.
Shmerl Rabinowitz, yeah. He changed it for show business, I think. Anyway, so Shmerl...
Well, my aunt was telling me, too, sometimes they just, when you immigrated to the United States, sometimes the guy checking people in would just change your name.
I think that happened on both sides because
our last name changed, if you can believe it.
Was it longer than Ybarrolaza?
Well, no, it was spelled with an I, and they said, nope, you're spelling it with a Y. Well, and that's just okay. You're like, I want in, so I want.
Right. I'm not going to argue with you. They changed it to ours from Vich, V-I-C-H, to Witz, and I don't know why, but that's
right.
So, yeah. But Shmerl apparently had to fill out this form, which I found from 1920, saying that because they sat in Turkey for 2 years waiting for entry to the U.S., And while they were there, Shmerl had to fill out this form saying that he had some cousin in the Bronx, and the form had the cousin's name and address, and that I can stay with my cousin, and this is the job I have. I'm going to work as a clerk. So it was pretty amazing to find that. And then I also found my grandfather's citizenship papers from 100 years ago. 1921, he became a U.S. citizen, I guess, as a young boy. And so I found that as well.
God, the shit people had to go through.
Yeah.
I mean,
amazing.
Outside of here. And my family, actually, they weren't even, America is, this wonderful pillar of democracy. They just wanted to go to a place that wasn't at war.
Yeah.
It was just that simple.
Right. So people will probably, spit on me and make fun of me or whatever, but they won't kill me for being Jewish. They'll just, So, but, it was, for my family, it was, you talk about the land of opportunity. My family was able to come here, get work, be treated with a level of dignity.
And that's the common immigrant story, particularly even now in unions, is that unlike maybe other sectors of society that will take advantage of people, people can come in, get a job, get a union job, and earn a reasonable wage and not necessarily be taken advantage of,
Well, that's one of the great things about unions is that unions are a force for equality, because when you've got a union contract, you get paid what the contract says. You have the rights that the contract says, regardless of your race or ethnicity, religion, your manner